What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Just Zoogal back again with another edition of the Netflix 5-Star Challenge. Today's film is a little bit older, and that's 1975's The Great Waldo Pepper. Now, I've heard of most of the cast in this film, but I've never heard of this movie before. I've never heard it talked about, and it's never been brought up. So, needless to say, my curiosity was sparked, and I decided to watch it. Was it necessarily good? I'll get into that a little bit. But as per usual, let's start with the plot. Stunt pilot Waldo Pepper seeks the fame he missed out on during World War I and the chance to outperform the great German ace pilot Ernst Kessler. Now this movie, the first quarter of it was good. It was great, and it really set my hopes up thinking, okay, this is going to be a fun, action-packed film. But after that first quarter, it really falls flat. The first quarter, you have Waldo Pepper and several other pilots you'll see performing all these stunts. They're doing barnstorming, I believe is the term, where they will land in a small town and for a small fee take people up in their airplanes, do a couple of stunts, things like that. But after that, once you really start getting into the story, it just falls flat. It quickly becomes about one man's desperate, and I emphasize the word, desperate attempts to attain glory and fame as this great pilot. No matter what cost he or anyone else has to pay, his only concern is when can I get back up in the air. His friends die. One of his assistants dies. And really, this story is just one mishap after another. It's just a bunch of failures strung together, and it really didn't hold my interest after that point. My hopes were set high for this film after watching the trailer, but they really fell flat after the first quarter of the film. So plot-wise, definitely not a good movie. But you figure with a cast that includes Robert Redford, Susan Sarandon, Margot Kidder, that the acting would at least be good. And it was. Robert Redford, of course, plays the title role of Waldo Pepper, and he comes off as a confident, heroic pilot, and it's believable, but not even he could save this film. I've seen some movies where Robert Redford was able to carry a bad plot, but this just was not one of them. But I have to give him an A for effort. He tried, it just didn't work, but his performance in the film was great. Margot Kidder was also good despite being in only, I believe, 3 or 4 scenes. And Susan Sarandon, again, was barely in the film, but she put on a good performance. And especially for an early role, I think she did a good job. Now, the definite highlight of this film has to be the stunt work. You'll see things like wing walking. I believe this big stunt was called the outside loop or the outward loop, something like that. And that was fun to see. And I would even go so far as to say the stunt work is the highlight of the film. And it really never disappointed. Sure, there were scenes where it wasn't as good as it could have been, and some scenes lingered on too long, but overall, the stunt work really was fantastic. So overall, this film's plot fell flat. I mean, it really went into a nosedive. Aviation puns. But it really went into a nosedive after the first act, and crashed. The only reason I kept on going was hopefully there was some redeeming quality in the film, or maybe it would get better, or at the very least I had to watch it just to see if anything happened. And as I said, it just comes down to this one man's desperate attempt to become famous. And it's really sad, to be honest. But as I said, the acting and the stunt work did boost it up a little bit. It took what would have been a 2-star film to about a 3-star. It's not great, but I'd say it's worth watching just for the stunt work alone, or if you're a big aviation fan. The Great Waldo Pepper, more like the mediocre Waldo Pepper. But 3 stars. I'll see you guys with the next edition of the 5-Star Challenge.